Welcome Eric on stage with a big round of applause.
Hi, my name's Eric. I'm an introvert, and I'm here to talk about stop doing failure analysis and start doing checklists. It's good. I also wrote this book too. Failure mode analysis, right? What is it, right? We review the entire system, all the components we have. We brainstorm all the possible failures. We score the failures, and then we can separate out the big problems from the minor annoyances. The problem is that failure mode analysis doesn't really work because of pride, extra homework, and trust. And I'm going to explain those in the next couple of slides. It's a lonely dog, too. So pride, right? It's the first one. It's difficult to critique your own software, right? You put all this time and energy into writing your own stuff, and then you have to tell everybody why it sucks. Doesn't really work that well. The second thing is extra homework. So failure mode analysis, you should really do it at design time. You should do it so you build in the rugged and robust features you need. But unfortunately, we don't want to do that. We want to wait for the magic stabilization period, right, to actually observe and fix problems. And the last one's trust. You know, if somebody goes and says, tell me all the things that are wrong with your software or your system or what you're doing, teams will often suspect that the managers are going to use that information to evaluate them. So there's a lack of trust. So it turns out that failure mode analysis is hard work. It's hard to see the whole playing field. It's hard to see everything that can go wrong if you're not an expert. So observing and reacting to problems is actually a better way. Or observing and reacting to issues is a better way. So checklists, they work. They use them in aviation and in medicine. They're used in areas that have life and death consequences. So maybe we can use them in more places. So as an example of a checklist item, let's say everybody made a checklist item to explicitly ensure there was enough capacity during releases and updates of software, right? That would be an example of a checklist item. Would it work, right? Well, I think that's a good checklist item. So usually people accept it. They're like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. We should do that, right? Not have outages during deployments, right? But also, if you have bad ideas, that actually gets people to think too. They're like, no, that is really a sucky checklist item, and let me explain why. And they usually think through it. Why? Because the idea is specific, right? And when it's specific, it causes you to also, give a specific answer, a specific reply. So the good thing about being specific is it engages the thinking muscles. Specifics drive learning. Accepting or rejecting checklist items is a path to learning and growing, which is good. Another good thing about checklists is they're explicit. So writing down things works. Why? Because when you're explicit, you can do self-inspection, and self-inspection creates a feedback loop. So that's pretty nice. Oh, this is like the intermission in my Ignite. But it's take a phased approach, right? If you want to do this and it sounds like a good idea, do rollout in waves. And the first wave is situational awareness, right? So you want to know where the fire is coming from and how hot the fire is. Those are the first things you should start with. And I usually start with 5 to 7 items in that situational awareness bucket. Alerts, is your service up or down? Dial tone. The second wave, teams will want to come together and work on common functionality. You can't stop them. I tried to stop a team from working on a common logging infrastructure, said, no, you guys should do it on your own so you really understand how it works. Didn't. They self-organized and put it together anyways. The third wave is blow stuff up. So what happens when you blow stuff up is you validate all the checklist items. So you get alerts. Do the alerts go to the right people at the right time? Are you using the test system? Are you using the production system? So blowing things up actually helps drive validation. And the fourth wave is fixing things. You can fix your release items after you blow it up, lower severity of noisy alerts, improve escalation process across teams. And then the fifth one is just to implement the rest, whatever your rest is. And in the book, I have 93 checklist items. So if this is at all interesting, you can go and get the book, and I'll walk through all the different checklist items, and you can pick out the ones that you like and the ones that you don't. And the last thing that's really important to note is the tone from the top really matters, right? This is all about progress, not perfection. So if you come out with a checklist item and it's really explicit, sometimes it can shut down the conversation. So you really need to make sure that you have the right tone too.